Hey everyone, Greg here. This is a free SEO audit for R&G Strategic. If you want to learn more about me, you can pause this video, but I'm going to continue. So within the audit, there's 5 things I looked at. One is the technical audit score. Second are most common errors within the site and some of the solutions to fix their problems. Third is keyword comparative research. 4 is content implementation. And then 5 is if we do become a client together, we really use this blueprint, this audit to kind of baseline our performance and know what we're going to do next. So the summary of the site I looked at for the Canadian region as a whole. So there's 127 keywords that rank to drive 27 organic visits. All of them are non-brand. They don't include your brand name. They're very much just non-brand specific. If you want to see some of these words right here, now they're all over the place, which is I think there's maybe like an opportunity to really centralize your current keyword rankings on your site, because a lot of them are maybe like different brands you've worked with, etc. So it's really important to kind of maybe steer your SEO strategy in a bit of a more of like a clear and precise point. So here's some of the top pages that are driving traffic to your site from an organic perspective. So I'm going to go right into the technical SEO audit right now. So a couple things. I'm using SEM Rush, and when I ran your site through, you have a 76% score. So there's actually a lot of errors within your site. So anytime there's some lack of SEO growth, there usually is an SEO technical issue that's in place, and that is the case with your site. So there's a lot of things going on. First is you have broken links, a lot of 404 pages, duplicate title tags, some pages can't even be crawled, some text to HTML ratio is a bit low. There's a lot of errors within here that we would need to address to start working on an SEO strategy together. But I think the biggest thing that I saw is that how long the site takes to load. When I first looked at this site, I used Microsoft Edge, Firefox, and Google Chrome to load. And I noticed that they were all a bit slow via the fully loaded. So I used GT Metrics, which is a third-party site, and I ran your site through. It takes 17 seconds to fully load. That doesn't mean it takes 17 seconds for the first part of the site to load. It just means that all the elements on the page takes 17 seconds, which is not going to be good when you consider that Google's moved to a mobile first index. 17 seconds is just too long. There's a lot of things too that we could do within the load time. For example, the biggest culprits were images that were too large, so really compress the size of those. Other things as well were, minifying the JavaScript and the CSS files. Those are just some 3 examples right there that both the Google page speed score and also GT metrics flagged for your website. So comparative research. So I'm using SEM Rush, and I noticed that it's kind of like a wide range of different competitors based off similar keywords. So I took a baseline right here of how I would go about this approach, which means that you would look at your most direct competitors from a keyword shared library, and you would try to look for those low-hanging fruit opportunities to start tackling right away. So that, usually can mean building out a new page on your site, or maybe optimizing an existing page to try to beef up the SEO rankings. So here's an example of one keyword that I would consider optimizing for. Sustainable marketing agency. So this is actually the word that you sent over to me, and it currently does not rank on the website. So I'm using a tool called ClearScope, which means that I'm going to take the target term of a sustainable marketing agency. I put it into the put it in as the google.ca, so for Canada specific, and I put in your content right there, and you have a C+ score. There's a lot of words here that you can add if they make sense to your business, to include things like social media, green marketing, know-how, nonprofit, carbon footprint. A lot of these words here are associated to sustainable marketing agency. You just don't include them on your page. So that's usually one of the first optimizations that I do, is just go in, make the on-page SEO changes to the site. Second is the images as well. So the way that you have your images saved don't match up with the alt tag. So the file name and the alt tag should match because Googlebot needs to basically tie one for one together, because they don't know what the image necessarily is. They have to rely on backend elements like the text around the image and the image file name and also the alt tag. That's how they can rank images up higher within their results. So you can see here that, and I highlighted it in yellow, the way that you save the file name doesn't exactly match with how the alt tag is right there. So always make sure that however you save the file name needs to match, or vice versa. It just has to be one for one. Another thing that I noticed is that the lack of internal linking. So I looked at the term sustainable marketing. I went to one of your most recent news articles, and I noticed that you used that word continuously 13 times actually on this blog post, but you don't link back to the homepage. So from an SEO perspective, if you really want to include that target term in the anchor text, link it back. And then what I do from there is I use Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools to crawl and fetch those changes, because I want to have Google and Bing to both index the crawl and then index that change, because they're going to see there's more signals pointing back to your target page. So for that example, I said the homepage would make sense. But ideally, if you had more of a main service page that you wanted to rank, it's the same strategy with that. Okay, so conclusion. So if you do become a client, what I do with everyone is make sure there's Google Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, and SEM Rush set up for weekly health tracking, also with daily keyword rank tracking as well. Second is the website takes too long to load, 17 seconds. So compressed images and minified JavaScript, those are two of the main areas that you can actually drastically reduce the load time for your site. Third is fix some broken links. There's some broken links on the site, some orphaned off pages as well. Google can't really get to those pages. Fourth is update the content. So if you go back maybe about a minute or so, you would see those missing words that I suggest. Bottom left is make sure your images match together with your alt tags. And then bottom right is review competitors, discover low-hanging fruit opportunities just for keywords. So case studies real quick. This is one client that I have currently. We've been working since the end of February, and their SEO traffic is up 800%. Here's another client that's up 10% in their traffic year over year with organic search. And I worked on their website last year and they were up 10% as well. So just continue growth. This is one part of a website that I took over back in September of 2018. And you can see that it never drove any traffic before then. And now it's doing over 70,000 per month. And then finally, this is my own personal website, the Stadium Reviews, and at one time I outranked the Buffalo Bills official parking page for my own blog, and also on the right I had the answer box and the first organic listing as well. Google doesn't allow that anymore. They got rid of that functionality around January, but what's great though about SEO is that whenever Google kind of takes away one thing, they kind of also add another. So it's just a lot of ways that SEO just continues to grow and evolve, even just in a short amount of time in just 1 year. So I hope this audit was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, have a good rest of your day.